Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. It is the second day of the federal election campaign, and political hopefuls are in full swing, trying to convince Canadians that they can meet the moment. We'll introduce you to your candidates across the North tonight, but we start with a broader look at today's campaign promises from federal leaders. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre unveiled an income tax cut larger than the one announced Sunday by the Liberals. As Olivia Stefanovich reports, it's not entirely clear how both parties plan to pay for their promises.
Right out of the gate, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre with a major campaign promise.
This is a tax cut that will put Canada first.
A pledge to shave the lowest personal income tax bracket from 15 to 12.75%.
These people behind me, they work hard every day. And yet, at the end of the month, they look at their pay stub and it's tax after tax after tax.
He can't pay for what he announced today.
Poilievre's plan one-ups a pitch made yesterday by the Liberals.
We have a balanced approach. He has a simple approach.
Who want to cut the lowest income tax bracket by 1 percentage point instead of just over 2 percentage points.
How the hell do you intend to do that?
The dueling promises fodder for criticism from political rivals.
Yeah, we need to give a tax break to the middle class, but let's give it just the middle class, not to millionaires. And their plan doesn't distinguish. And that, I think, is a massive problem. I think most Canadians would agree.
The tax reductions would indeed help the majority of Canadians, no matter how wealthy they are. Under the Liberal plan, the average worker would save a little more than $400 a year. Under the Conservative plan, that figure jumps to $900.
I don't think you want to let the election pass without telling people how you're going to get to these numbers.
Both proposals would be phased in. The estimated price tag, almost $6 billion a year for the Liberal tax cut, and up to $14 billion annually for the Conservatives.
We know that something has to give. We know there have to be cuts.
But the leaders aren't saying specifically what those cuts will be. So far, Poilievre says he will eliminate government waste and bureaucracy, while Carney says he will review federal spending programs. The fine details to be released later in the campaign when the parties put out their costed platforms. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
In the Yukon, the Liberals have held the territory's sole federal riding for 21 of the last 25 years. So far, 4 other parties have announced their candidates. Virginie Anne tells us who they are.
This is the first full day of campaigning across the country, but some parties have been lining up their Yukon candidates for weeks now. Some candidates are already known to Yukoners, but new names are popping up. In alphabetical order by first name, André Fortin for the People's Party of Canada. Fortin is originally from Quebec. He has lived in Whitehorse for more than 40 years. He described himself as an apprentice politician. Fortin's top priorities are making sure gun regulations don't harm Yukoners, ensuring the RCMP is properly funded, as well as housing and healthcare. Incumbent Liberal MP Brendan Henley is also focusing on housing and healthcare. Henley is seeking a second term as MP. He first won the seat in the 2021 election. Before that, Henley was the Yukon's Chief Medical Officer of Health for more than a decade. Climate change is also a focus of his campaign. Speaking of climate change, next comes the Green Party. The platform is historically based on protecting the environment. The party has chosen Gabrielle Dupont to be the territory's candidate. Dupont is new to politics. Her background is in architectural drafting for mining companies, contractors, and governments. She's also an artist and has volunteered with different NGOs in the territory. Her campaign focuses on building more renewable energy sources as well as affordable housing. Yukoners will also have an option they haven't seen since 1984, a candidate for the Rhinoceros Party. Jean-Michel Harvey is representing the satirical political party. We have yet to hear from him directly. And finally, the Conservative Party is putting forward Ryan Leaf. Now, that's a name most Yukoners will recognize, and that's because Leaf served one term as MP a decade ago. CBC hasn't been able to reach Leaf, but in a recent social media post, he wrote about tackling the fentanyl crisis, the rise of violence and vandalism in the territory, as well as doubling ranger patrols in the Arctic. Now, that list of candidates is subject to change in the days ahead. We are still waiting to hear who the NDP will choose as its candidate. Virginie Anne, CBC News, Whitehorse.
So far, only the NDP and the Green Party have declared their candidates for Nunavut. Laurie Edlout is looking to be re-elected for the NDP. Brennan Waters has been chosen as the Green Party's representative. He ran for the party in the British Columbia legislature last year. The Liberals and Conservatives have yet to announce their nominees for Nunavut. Meanwhile, in Nunavik, Sylvie Bérubé is seeking re-election for the Bloc Québécois. Steve Corriveau is running for the Conservative Party. And the Liberals, NDP, and Greens have yet to declare anyone for that riding. We asked people in Iqaluit about what issues they want to see addressed by the new government. Here's what they told us.
There are some communities that only have a northern store. The prices are crazy high, especially for baby formula and diapers. The prices for those are one of the highest priced items.
Some Inuit don't have decent housing and we're losing our language.
Well, I think sovereignty is, front and center for a lot of Canadians, particularly up here in the Arctic. So I think that's a big issue. I think also, and it does go with sovereignty. What will be the economic landscape going forward, given what we're seeing from our neighbors south of us?
And in the Northwest Territories, Liberal MP Michael McLeod is not seeking re-election. That means the Territory will have a new MP after the vote. Sarah Chmielewski has more on the candidates.
There are 4 people running to be the next Member of Parliament for NWT so far. Here's what we know about them. Kelvin Kachilia is the NDP candidate. A long-time territorial government employee, he grew up in Beshiko. He says one of his goals is to work together with Indigenous governments to advance their priorities. Kimberly Fairman is the Conservative candidate. She was previously the director of the Institute for Circumpolar Health Research. Fairman declined an interview with CBC on her priorities. In a press release, she says Conservative Party tax cuts will help Northerners. Rebecca Alty is the Liberal candidate. She's been the mayor of Yellowknife since 2018. Before that, she worked for Diavik Diamond Mine and the territorial government. She says if elected, her top priority will be increasing housing. The Green Party's candidate is Angela Davidson. She's best known for being active in protests against old-growth logging in British Columbia. She's never been to the Northwest Territories. She says she wants to create unity in Canada. Those are the candidates for now, but others could still enter the race. The deadline to join is April 7th. Sarah Chmielewski, CBC News, Yellowknife.
As you heard from Sarah, Liberal candidate Rebecca Alty is Yellowknife's mayor. Tonight, Yellowknife City Council is expected to appoint an acting mayor to replace Alty, at least temporarily. That job will fall to Deputy Mayor Ben Hendrickson. However, he's currently on vacation. So in the meantime, councillors decided to appoint Garrett Cochran to act as mayor until Hendrickson returns from vacation next week. That decision is expected to be finalized at a council meeting tonight. Elections Canada has announced some new measures to protect the integrity of this federal election. The measures come in the wake of past attempts to affect our democracy through foreign actors and online misinformation. Alexander Silberman has the details.
I'm confident that we will deliver a safe election.
Canada's chief electoral officer promising to keep a close eye on election security and outlining plans to fight online misinformation just weeks after the final report from the public inquiry into foreign interference.
It was clear that some electors felt intimidated in voting, and I thought it was important to remind electors in different languages, through different mediums, that the vote is secret.
Elections Canada says it's been in touch with social media companies, such as X and TikTok, seeking their support to prevent interference. It's also launching ElectoFacts, a new online tool to list and debunk online misinformation related to the federal election, and promising to tell Canadians about any foreign interference incidents if they're deemed serious enough to affect the election results. But the threat remains, according to this expert.
I think the problem is that nothing's been done about that. Apart from a lot of talk and rhetoric, we still don't have a foreign agent registry, and we just have more amplified social media and more amplified algorithms and, rabbit holes that people go into.
Elections Canada's assurances come as Alberta's premier is facing questions about whether she asked the U.S. to take action that could impact the election here. In an interview last month with American media outlet Breitbart, Danielle Smith said since the U.S. tariff threat, support for the Liberals has increased.
So I would hope that we could put things on pause. This is what I've told administration officials. Let's just put things on pause so we can get through an election.
Smith's office says any suggestion she asked the U.S. to intervene is offensive and false. When asked if Smith's remarks violate any election laws, a government official said this.
We can say that we're aware of Premier Smith's comments, but that they don't meet the definition of interference, and so we are not looking into them.
Elections Canada says it's closely watching for threats from foreign actors. It's working with security partners, including CSIS and the RCMP, to protect elections workers, voters, and polling places throughout the campaign. It's also encouraging people who see information about the election they believe is inaccurate or misleading to report it. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Ottawa.
When it comes to reaching voters, Canada's major party leaders are using different tactics. Yvette Brand looks at what they're doing and how some Canadians are responding.
Myers, what are you doing here?
In less than 24 hours, about 10 million people watched Mark Carney's newest ad, which featured a big assist from Mike Myers.
What are the 2 seasons in Toronto? Winter and construction. Wow, you really are Canadian.
The use of the Canadian celebrity seemingly part of the Liberal leader's strategy.
It's all invoking this idea that this is Team Canada.
As to whether it's hitting, those reviews are mixed.
Well, it's not genuine. I mean, it's important to me, but it's not genuine.
But Carney's not alone with his patriotic appeal.
So when Pierre says, it doesn't matter who you know or where you're from,
Pierre Poilievre has used Canada First as a rallying cry while also trying to highlight his family, his wife, the voice behind some of his ads.
His children know him in Francais, Espanol, and English as Papa.
So introducing himself and his family is a kind of a first family vibe, if you like, to show that this is a family like any other that has the same kind of concerns as Canadians.
Of course it's a tactic. It's not a bad one, obviously.
I worked for minimum wage to take care of my family when my dad was sick.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is also trying to deliver a personal touch.
I retie my turban at least once a day just to
getting in on a hot TikTok trend. In what's known as a Get Ready With Me video, Singh is hoping to grab the attention of young people. Already it's had more than 4 million views.
They believe they can bring in the first-time voters into their fold, which is going to help that party grow.
But it's not enough to capture this potential voter.
It's embarrassed to say I never participated in an election, even though I hear sometimes they knock on my door.
While the campaign is only just beginning, in this short race, parties will have to get creative to find new ways to meet busy Canadians where they're at, even if that differs from person to person. Yvette Brand, CBC News, Vancouver.
The claims period for 2 classes in the First Nations Child and Family Services and Jordan's Principal Settlement is now open.
First Nations children who were removed from their homes on reserve between April 1st, 1991 and March 31st, 2022, and their caregiving parents and caregiving grandparents can now submit a claim for compensation.
There are free supports to help you fill out your form.
And mental health and wellness supports if you need them.
Learn more and submit your claim at fnchildclaims.ca.
Forced and coerced sterilization of Indigenous people is still happening.
The Survivors Circle for Reproductive Justice has supports available for Indigenous survivors. Join the National Registry and access up to $70,000 in healing support funds for individuals, families, and communities. The deadline to apply is March 31st. If you or someone you know has experienced forced and coerced sterilization, please call 1-877-386-0750 or visit reproductivejusticesurvivors.ca for more information.
If alcohol builds a wall around you, know this. We're here to help if you want us to. It's never too early or too late to ask for help with a drinking problem. Alcoholics Anonymous. There is a way out.
I was fighting losing battles with opponents disguised as friends, and coming home to a different fight that never ends. I saw no other choice. I had to leave a roof for the rain. But sometimes I wonder if there was a path with more to gain. Maybe the opportunities would have been better, and every day would take me further towards something greater.
To help create new paths for youth experiencing homelessness, the Home Depot Canada Foundation is committing $125 million by 2030.
You are finally here.
Come on! Just talk to me.
Woo!
All you have to do is look.
Nothing can stand in your way. Are you still nervous?
No, I'm not anymore.
RCMP have charged a 14-year-old girl in Fort Good Hope with murder. Officers got a report that a person had been stabbed yesterday. Police went to a home where they found a female with severe stab wounds. They took her to the health center, but she died. The accused appeared before a justice of the peace. She's scheduled to be in court in Yellowknife on Tuesday. Under provisions of the Youth Criminal Justice Act, she cannot be identified. The RCMP's Major Crimes Unit has taken over the investigation. A self-defense program led by a Nunavik Women's Association is helping women facing intimate partner violence. Northbeat Inuit Women's Association is traveling to some villages to promote safety for women and families. The program teaches how to escape from violent situations or prevent them from happening. One of the association's self-defense trainers says the roots of violence are in colonization.
It seems to be predominant in the north, and we wanted to, work towards a space where we could open up the ideas that, some toxicity in relationships don't need to exist and that there is an alternative.
The workshop has been held in Montreal and 2 Nunavik communities so far. Upcoming sessions are planned for Saluit, Evuyivik, and Akulivik. The Yukon has secured funding for a new convention center in Whitehorse just before the federal election was called. The convention center has been in the works for a few years, but the funding source for the project has been unclear. Yukon Liberal MP Brendan Hanley and Premier Ranch Pillay announced the funding on Saturday. Pillay says it took getting on a red-eye flight and meeting with the federal government to secure approval a day before the election kicked off.
We're tired. This came down to the very end to get things in place. So I want to thank everybody. Chief Smith, thank you for coming out today.
The new facility can accommodate up to 750 guests for seated banquets and 1,000 people in a theater setting. It's expected to cost around $75 million and take around 3 years to build. Nunavut Nukiksautit Corporation, or NNC, is pleased to get more federal funding for its hydroelectric project near Iqaluit. Last week, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced another $20 million for the first phase of the plan, which includes building a 50 to 30 megawatt water power plant. NNC has identified the Kugaluk River as a possible site. It's located about 60 kilometers from Iqaluit.
The area that we're looking at is already a pretty significant lake there on the river, so it would just kind of be expanding that a little bit, would be sort of how we get the water to grow in scale such that we're able to produce the electricity that we would need through the water.
As of last fall, NNC estimated the total cost to be around $400 to $500 million. Black authors got a chance to showcase their work in Iqaluit. The Nunavut Black History Society organized a book exhibit last week. People got to hear authors talk about books focusing on topics like social justice, religion, and the experiences of women.
Very important because we have some really, really intelligent people in our community and very intelligent Black people in our community.
Priscilla Sawa was one of the authors at the book exhibit. She wrote a book called The Resolute Woman. It examines the lives of women who overcame adversity to achieve their goals.
You may be going in with one leg broken, figuratively speaking. You may be bleeding while you're working towards your goals. You may be crying, but whatever you do, don't give up. Keep pressing in until you reach that goal.
Sawa says it's important to hold events like the exhibit to help encourage people to write. The Dawson City Music Festival Association has opened the town's first professional recording studio. Construction of the studio began last May. Visiting and local audio engineers helped with the project over the winter. And the studio is now ready for public use. Corbin Murdoch is DCMF's executive director. He says studio users will have access to an in-house engineer who will help them record their music. Murdoch says this is another way the association can support local and visiting talent.
Yeah, it's been like almost a year in the works, and certainly before that, this is like something that the board and staff of DCMF have been dreaming up for decades, so it's really exciting.
The Tondakwechin First Nation Han singers were the first group to record their debut album in the studio. The annual Yukon Native Hockey Tournament wrapped up on Sunday. Hundreds packed the stands of Takini Arena in Whitehorse to watch the A-League final, where the Selkirk Bears defeated the LJ Sabres 3-0 to secure the league championship. The Tahltan First Nation took home the trophy in the B-League finals. A total of 59 teams competed, most from across the north. Organizers say this year was the event's biggest version yet. Inuit Taparit Ganatami does not believe communities will hit tuberculosis reduction targets set for this year. In 2018, ITK and the federal government committed to eliminating tuberculosis across Inuit Nunangat by 2030. And by 2025, they had hoped to have cut rates by half. But today, on World Tuberculosis Day, ITK says that goal looks unlikely. It says active TB rates across Inuit Nunangat are 300 times higher than non-Indigenous Canadians. There are TB outbreaks in nearly half of Nunavut's villages, while 4 of Nunavut's 25 communities are battling outbreaks. ITK wants all parties seeking to form government to prioritize eliminating TB by 2030. The largest estuary restoration project to ever occur on Vancouver Island is underway on Cowichan Tribe's land. The project will restore an old hayfield into a thriving agricultural ecosystem using thousands of native Indigenous plants. The hope is that it'll help improve food security for its members and future generations.
I am Jared Kwistenacha Williams. I am an Indigenous chef and traditional foods hunter, harvester, user, and I guess advocate, and I think that's why I'm here today. We are standing in Kwakwalahwum. Kwakwalahwum was recently known as Dinsdale Farm, but we are reclaiming its traditional name, which is Kwakwalahwum, which is Little Dog Salmon Creek. This now being the site of reinvigoration of Indigenous agriculture. And when we imagine Indigenous foods, we imagine things like salmon and like moose and things like that, but we don't really acknowledge or understand our agricultural varieties. Things like wapato and camas and silverweed and wild onions and wild carrots and all these things that were used here for thousands of years have almost all been lost. And so trying to reintroduce that so that our youth can have access to them and understanding their value.
We are standing on the grounds in the Cowichan Bay estuary. Historically, our First Nation elders used to do gardening, and we're reviving it here. It was really powerful. I could see what this is going to look like in the summer and how happy it's going to make our people, and the relief they'll have when we're able to bring a box of what's coming out of here, whether it's the vegetables or the medicinal plants. A lot of our young people will be just learning about it, and the benefit of seeing their faces when they're going to start receiving this is really exciting to think of. As a young
Indigenous individual here long ago now, just always hearing about all of these traditional foods, and I've used a lot of them. I've had them, but I'm really interested in helping others realize how wonderful they are and how easy they are to use, and increasing the resilience of our agricultural system.
And our thanks to our colleagues on Vancouver Island for that piece. The UN has named 2025 as the Year of the Glacier. It's an attempt to bring attention to the importance of the world's ice fields and the threat posed to them by climate change. Glaciers are a crucial part of the world's global ecosystem. The ice stores the winter snow and gradually releases it in spring and summer. The UN has warned that many glaciers will not survive this century unless action is taken. Losing glaciers would put hundreds of millions of people at risk of drought, water shortages, and flooding. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
In your once stolen vehicle in West Africa.
That is crazy. Jumped in a car and then off they went.
I want my truck back.
300% increase in auto theft.
300%.
It's organized crime, well-financed.
They are selling vehicles that are insecure.
They're working on it.
We hear that from a lot of automakers.
Yeah.
We think we found your car.
Oh my goodness.
Earth is our collective home that makes us all family. As family, we strive to love and protect each other. Diversity of species is our strength. We are all connected. We survive and thrive together. We celebrate many things this season and make many choices. Taking care of our family should be the easiest. We're in this together.
One good scheme deserves another.
Stay on him.
I feel we may be in for a challenging few days.
Cheers. Cheers.
12 new records for a penny.
Sounds too good to be true.
It's not a scam. Cancel anytime. It's all in the fine print.
You're going to end up on the hook for a lot more.
You think I'm stupid? I used your name to sign up.
This is CBC North on your smart TV, because CBC News is now streaming local. Local news and weather on your connected TV or favorite device. CBC News North, streaming now.
Stream anytime. CBC News.